My name's Tony Herndon. I own Joe Loves Lobster Rolls and Wild Game in Boiling Spring Lakes, North Carolina. Well, actually, I was the first one to be permitted for a food trailer down in Savannah, Hilton Head, and Bluffton 7 years ago. What inspired me was this is the business I'm in. I was looking for a new concept. I actually employed a girl from Maine in one of my restaurants. She said, why don't you do a lobster roll? It was a Italian market in Delhi, and I decided to put a lobster roll on the menu, and that just really started the future of my brand. In moving to Savannah, I ended up buying a little hot dog cart. I turned it from hot to cold and started selling lobster rolls on Wilmington Island. A year later, I opened up my first brick and mortar in Ridgeland, which is kind of outside of Okatee, Bluffton. 5 years later, here I am. So lobster rolls, basically when I started this 7 years ago, lobster was 16 and change a pound. About 2 years into it, it went up to 19, 20 bucks a pound. Then Maine started shipping it across seas by the millions of pounds a year, and it became, I've paid up to $38 a pound for it. And then with our recent tariffs, it has gone down because now they're not shipping as much because they won't pay the tariffs. So for me, that's a fantastic thing. A lobster roll for me anyway is nothing but knuckle and claw from Maine with a tiny little bit of mayonnaise on a top split side shave buttered and toasted bun and warm lemon butter on top. And you always get a side, you get a lemon, you get a homemade pickle, and you get a water. That's always been my shtick, is to make it a complete meal. Lobster rolls, lobster grilled cheese, lobster taco, lobster Reuben, lobster over mixed organic greens. We've got the Ipswich belly clams, gator bites. And we also have a true South Philly cheesesteak with an Amoroso roll, half a pound New York Reuben, and a Wagyu burger. But we switch off the wild game. We have bison, venison, elk, and wild boar as well. But we switch it out. We should talk about the golden lobster grilled cheese. That's $140. That sits on homemade bread, a half a pound of lobster, 4 aged cheeses, comes with a side of lobster bisque, a split of champagne, and my pineapple coleslaw with cranberries. Got to order it 2 days in advance. So Joe was my cousin and godchild. He died of pancreatic in '07. He was a great kid, 30 years old. Called me up one day. I was running GNCs in Atlanta, and called me up, said he ate a bad burger, and I didn't know what to say, and just died 3 months later. Anyway, he loved lobster. He was a great kid. You know, when you go to name a place, you really have to have something catchy. And, you know, I always refer to McDonald's and the concept behind the name. You know, the name was perfect for it. It's all American, it's there. Joe Loves Lobster kind of rings. Now, no one can remember it after that. I'm at Joe's place, Joe's Lobster, but Joe Loves just flows. So we can call it Joe Loves for short, but the name just seemed right to me. Yeah. And it works on 2 levels. Joe Love is his name, and Joe Loves Lobster Rolls. Right over here is the menu. Okay, come on over here, it's easier to see. It's a great town. It's out of the way. It's in between Southport, St. James, Wilmington. You've got the bypass, which makes it easy for people to get here. It's a cute little place. It's actually the model for my first franchise, which for me, a franchise is going to be finding families that can run it, like my family and I. We run the business. Small, keep it simple. 3 people, 4 people max at a time. So you cut down labor, you cut down confusion, and this just seemed to be a great place. People were really anticipating the opening for over a month. We were a little over a month in the works with it. They lined up first day out the door across the street. They continue to every day. Every service has been packed. And for those who haven't had a lobster roll, and for people that don't eat lobster, that's one of the reasons I put the wild game on, or I put the other items on. It's a very small menu, we keep it simple, and I think people appreciate that as well. There's not a lot of guessing. They come in, they look, they see a few things, I'll take that, and we get right out to them. So that we're still working on the trailer. My daughters normally work on the trailer. They take it out so I can be here. So the trailer is nothing. In fact, the franchise model is the restaurant plus a trailer. So the trailer can go out in the community. That's very, very important to get out there. You don't want to limit yourself and wait for people to walk through the door. And the only reason I opened this was because I've already had a year's worth of following. Otherwise, I would never just sit in Boiling Springs and open up a lobster roll restaurant. It would take forever to get that following. So the idea is to get out in the community first and then bring them to you with the restaurant. But you can't forget that. And it's a retro canned ham, 72 canned ham. We're extremely socially conscious here. Everything, we recycle everything. We have very little trash. All of our food is antibiotic, hormone, steroid-free, has no pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, no artificial colors, flavors, sweetenings, or flavors. I want to thank Wilmington, Pender County, Brunswick County for being loyal to the Joe Love brand. I want to thank my daughters for helping me build the business. Kat is a new employee here and a friend, and just want to thank her too for being on board and being loyal, and just can't wait to serve this area going forward.